Hey ladies, it's a little darker than I thought it would be out here. Sorry about that, but I wanted to come outside to chat with y'all today. So I wanted to chat with you today about special dates and grief. Things like birthdays, anniversaries, the death date of our loved ones, these sort of things, and ways that we can get through it, and maybe even do a somewhat decent job of getting through it, maybe making it actually be something that's a healing event for us. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Oh, this might have been a mistake. It's really windy out here. Hopefully this is something that will be beneficial to you, and we'll see. We'll see if we can get through it. So if this is your first time seeing me or hearing me, my name is Molly Howze. I'm the founder of HowzeYourHealth.com. I'm a health coach and a grief mentor. I help women take really good care of themselves while grieving. Self-care is my absolute number one passion, and I'm not talking about spa days and bubble baths. I'm talking about well-rounded mind, spirit, body self-care. Sorry. This was kind of a crazy idea, but I can't go back inside. No going back now. Okay. So, first of all, it should be obvious, or it seems like it's obvious, that death date anniversaries, birthdays, wedding anniversaries, and things like that are going to be difficult because they do serve as reminders of, our loved one that we have lost. I'm going to see if I can readjust my camera here because I am afraid it's going to fall over in the wind. So, bear with me. Let's see. All right, I'm going to try to do this and hold my notes and keep my hair out of my face. Y'all, if this is not your first time, this is how I roll. Okay. And let me know if you can hear me too, because that would be funny if I do this whole video and nobody could even hear me. Okay, so one thing that we need to do is keep in mind that in many ways these dates will be no more or less difficult to get through than any other day that we face since our loved one died. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. These dates they're really nothing more than a date on a calendar, and they only hold as much power over us as we give them. Does that make sense? So, more often than not, and this is something that I have found to be true, let me know if you find this to be true as well. Many people, myself included, find that the anticipation of the day is worse than the actual day itself. So what brought this on, I was actually going to talk about something different this week, but in talking with Amy, who was sharing this being the first anniversary of the birth and death of her child, I had decided I really wasn't sure how I was going to address this with y'all, as far as the fact that this week is my daughter's birthday. And I really wasn't sure how I was going to, share with y'all what we were planning on doing, or if I was even going to share that. I really just hadn't decided. But after talking with Amy, I realized that maybe it would be a really good idea for me to just go ahead and just let y'all know what's going on, and how we're doing things, what we're doing. You guys can probably hear the hummingbirds. I will turn my camera around when I'm done chatting and show you, because they are having a death match above my head. Okay, so like everything else in grieving, we can choose to deal with things, our emotions and situations, by choosing to deal with it, face it head on, or avoiding it altogether and just choosing to stay stuck. Neither one is right or wrong. Whatever is best for you and whatever it is that you need to do is what's best for you. Okay? So I'm not coming from a place of this is the way to do it, there's only one way. I'm coming from a place of trying to help you, even if I can just help one person hear me and understand that whatever you're doing is okay for you. Whatever you're doing that's helping you heal is what you need to do. And nobody else can tell you what you're supposed to do. Right? Nobody else gets to tell you how to grieve. Okay. So, Definitely one good thing to do all the time, like no matter what, is to plan ahead. I think it would be a really good idea to come up with like a plan A and a plan B for what you're going to do. So whatever you plan to do for that day, so say it's a birthday, because, you know, like I said, that's what we've got coming up this week, is to be intentional. So even if you are intentionally not doing anything, like you intend to not go out to eat, not have a get-together, not go somewhere, not visit the gravesite, if you are intentionally choosing that, then you've planned it. Then you've planned ahead and you're doing it with intention. And so it's not that you're going to wake up the next day and have a regret, right? That you should have done something differently that day. You're planning ahead as best as you can for what your needs or what you anticipate your needs are going to be that day. I'm sorry, there's something in my eye. I don't mean to be so like completely out of sorts, but there's something in my eye. Okay, so, and you might, you know, if you do make plans, you might want to involve others in your plans, whether it's your family or friends. It's up to you, and choosing to involve people that you know are going to be supportive, people that are not going to flake out on you if you need their help in making the plans. And I'll get into that in a second. But you know, being sure that you're involving others if it's what you want to do that day, but letting people know that you know what your plans are for that day. So while so first I'm going to tell you, so we've done different things to remember Cassie, and I have a feeling it's going to change from year to year. Eventually, I think we might settle on one thing that sticks, but as of right now, we're, you know, still experimenting, and we've done small things, and we've done big things, and everything in between. So it just depends. It depends on how we feel that year. It depends on how we feel in that moment, that specific date, if it was, you know, remembering her death or her birthday or a holiday or something like that. So for this birthday, I felt a few months ago compelled to reach out to our local very small zoo. It's a wildlife refuge that is owned. It's now currently owned and run by a family, and they use volunteers and donations. And it was one of her favorite places. And so I just called him and I asked him, you know, is there something that we can do for her birthday? And they had just decided that they wanted to start doing where you could sponsor a bench. They're going to put benches all around the zoo so you can have a place to sit while you're at different exhibits. And hers will be the first one. And so he said, you know, he's going to build this amazing bench and we're going to raise money. So basically it's a fundraiser and it'll have her name on it. And we are going to go on Friday to basically dedicate this bench on her birthday. And friends of ours, I'm sorry, I'm feeling, I need to protect this from the wind. Friends of ours that know Cassie will be able to join us on Friday and get into the zoo free because they donated to the raising money for the bench, or donated in other ways to the zoo. This has been a really big project, and I realize there are other projects that are way bigger, but this has been a really big project, and it's actually been a big headache because more people than not can't follow directions. And also I understand that the people who own the zoo are very busy, but to have to go back and forth with trying to get information back and forth, it's very frustrating, you know, whenever you're not sure what the answer is and you're waiting to hear back. And it feels a little bit, it can make you feel anxious, right? Relying on other people to help you orchestrate an event or an activity or something it can be nerve-wracking. So that's why I say whenever I'm talking about like involving other people in your plans, be sure, you know, that you're clarifying with people, hey, are you for sure going to be able to follow through on whatever it is that you're promising to help me out with here? Because otherwise I'll probably lose my mind, you know, if like you're not returning my calls. Yeah, does that make sense? So what I want y'all to do is, as I'm going through this list of things, these suggestions, I'm being attacked by love bugs. If y'all don't know what love bugs are, well then you should just come to Northwest Florida in either May or September, because they don't bite, but they swarm, and they completely, like, they're everywhere right now. They're crawling all over my phone, crawling over my arms. I promise, like, I feel like I have twitches because I'm trying to bat at them. Anyway, comment any things that you have done for your loved one, for their birthday, for any sort of memorial or holiday. I know so many of you have done like fundraisers and scholarships and some amazing things that are just very, very powerful, and I feel are very, very healing. Now, that being said, if you haven't done something big, do not beat yourself up. You don't have to, okay? You absolutely don't have to, ever, or this year, or whatever the choice may be for you. But if something comes up and you feel called to do it, you'll know. You'll know when it's right. You'll know when it's the right activity for you to do, and when you have the energy to do it, right? So my list of things that I have of suggestions is small and big things. So just keeping that in mind, like if you haven't done all or any of these things, no guilt, no pressure. These are just suggestions, okay? These are just suggestions of ways that you might find healing in celebrating your loved one, especially on their birthday or holidays or things like that, okay? So let me know in the comments if you've done any of these that I'm talking about, or things that you have done, or maybe even things that you've done that were a total flop and like you absolutely hated it and just like totally regretted it after you did it, because we're real, okay? All right, so somebody suggested there's a Jewish tradition of lighting a candle that burns. Apparently you can get it at a Jewish store. A candle that burns for 26 hours. And so you would burn it for the 24 hours leading up to the date of your loved one's passing. And so it's considered a tradition. And I find that to be something really beautiful, because certain cultures are better at helping you heal and at helping you know that, like, you're not the only one that remembers your loved one, right? And we know that's very important. Whenever you feel like you're the only one, when you feel like you're the only one that is thinking of them or saying their name, right? To know that other people would be lighting a candle in their honor and thinking of them for that 24 hours that's huge. So I just think that just sounds really beautiful to me. Writing a letter to your loved one. Again, this is one of those things it's not a big orchestrated event. It's very private. It's very personal. Writing a letter and just telling them anything that you want to tell them. You know, how things have been for you, how much you miss them, how much you love them, memories, whatever pours out of you, and then you can read it to them either in a special place, maybe at the beach or the mountains or somewhere that was special to y'all, and or at their gravesite if that's a place that you can go and feel comfort. I don't feel comfort at my daughter's gravesite, and that's okay. I felt really guilty about that for a long time, and maybe one day I will feel comfort there, but right now I don't, and that's okay. But so then you can read it to them, and then you can even be like ceremonial and like burn the letter, or you can put it in their keepsake box. It's up to you. You can write a letter to you from them. So, I mean, and even if it's a baby, that obviously a baby isn't talking or writing, but you can still write a letter from them to you that is what you know that they're thinking about you, right? Because we know that our mamas and our sisters and our babies, whoever it is that we love that has passed on, we know that they still love us, and we know the things that they would say to us if we were having a conversation. And so write it in a letter, you know, and again, you can keep it in a keepsake box. You don't have to do this. It's just I just think it's a really cool, and I like journaling and writing anyway, and so I feel like it sort of just flows with that. Okay, some more things is setting a special place at the table for your loved one. If you're, going to a restaurant, taking, having something that's special about them and having that be their placeholder, right, that you would take with you, or have at your own dinner table at home. Something that marks their spot, even if it's just, like their picture, taking their picture with you. And telling stories of the person. This to me, I think I love when other people tell me stories about my daughter, especially stories that I didn't know. And so I feel like if you're going to have people over, or if you're going to go somewhere, or going to have an event, or even doing this on social media, asking for people to tell their memories of your beloved and sharing them with you on that special day. At the holidays, creating an ornament for them, or a wreath, or a piece of art for any holiday, but maybe whatever their favorite holiday was. So creating something that you can pull out from year to year that reminds you of them, right? So these are easier things. These are simpler things. These aren't too complicated, and it depends on if you have maybe other children that want to make something, or it depends on what's in your season of life, what makes sense for you. Visit a special place that holds memories of your loved one. Like I said, we're going to be going to the zoo because that was one of her favorite places. And I've thought that in the future we would also go to, there's some other animal rescue places around, and I thought we might also do something with those other places maybe from year to year. That hasn't happened. As far as me thinking into the future, I don't know. This was pretty hard to do, so I'm not really sure that we're going to do something like that. As far as trying to involve other people, right? As far as trying to make it a really big fundraiser, I'm not sure we're going to manage that. But we'll see. I just, we got to get through this week first, right? So, anyway, but going somewhere that they loved, you don't have to stay there all day. You don't have to make it a big thing, but going somewhere, even if it's just for a few minutes. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the craze. There was a craze going around like last summer. I would hope it still is, but where everyone was painting rocks. And so we did a lot of painted rocks, and people were leaving rocks with our daughter's name everywhere. So they were being found just everywhere, states and states away from us that the rocks were traveling to. So, taking something that not something that a keepsake that you wouldn't want to get rid of, but something that you might want to leave in that special place for someone to find, right? And so for me, the easiest thing would be a rock, especially if you wanted to paint it. Put a special message on it for someone to find. I just think that's just simple and sweet. Create a website or like a Facebook page to honor your loved one. So I created a page for my daughter. It's called Cookies for Cassie, and it's at first what we wound up doing. So like for her first birthday, we did not involve anybody. We had thought we were going to have everybody come over, but we decided not to do that. It just was too exhausting to think about doing that. But what we did do, because the day that she died, that morning we had made cookies to take to our neighbors. And so what I wound up doing was basically challenging people for her birthday to bake cookies and take to their neighbors. People took cookies to nursing homes, to the fire department, everywhere. It was the most wonderful thing for people to post on her page, places that they were going, and they were, making new friends, reaching out to elderly people. It was just very, very touching. And I thought that we would do that for all the holidays and stuff. But again, that hasn't happened. And I don't feel compelled right now to sort of, make that an event again. But at that moment, it was very, very helpful to me. And also it wasn't intrusive in that I didn't have to I'd have to clean my house and have a bunch of people over, and I didn't have to go anywhere, right? So having a memorial page, it can be a beautiful place, and that, like I said, that's where you can invite people to share memories, where you can share memories and pictures, right, and things like that. Buy a present for your loved one and donate it to a charity from them. This one is and also, asking other people if that's something that they would want to do as well. I think that's a beautiful thing because I'm going to get further down the list. I wanted to mention that everything that I have learned is that the way that we find the most joy in life, and I'm not talking about just us as grieving women, the way that we find the most joy in life is in serving others, not in making more money, buying bigger houses, things like that, but it's in service to others. especially someone who can't return the favor. And so when you think about like serving at a soup kitchen, donating to a homeless shelter, going to a nursing home and like, reading to someone who's elderly, these are things that these people can't do anything to pay you back, as it were, but it gives you the best feeling, right? Okay. Something as simple as making their favorite meal or dessert. I haven't baked cookies in a long time, and I did just buy some chocolate chips, so maybe I will make some cookies for her birthday. I don't know. We'll see. Planting a tree or a bush or flowers. This is something that I feel is wonderful. Actually, something really cool that my sister did whenever our dad died. He wanted to be cremated. And so they divided his ashes so that she and I each could have half of him. And she ordered this from this company where they send you a tree, and there's like a container, like you put the ashes in the container in the ground and you plant the tree. And so we each have a tree in our yard where we have a memorial for our dad. And so as the tree grows, it just sort of, it's a reminder, it's a tangible reminder, and it's right there in your yard, right? So something like that. It would be really cool too if you could plant a tree or something like that in a community space, and maybe have a little plaque or something so that other people could come and see their name, right? These are things that they're touching, and I feel like they, in their small ways, they help. Making a quilt out of their clothes, creating a new tradition of whatever it is that makes sense to you and your family. I know some people go on a trip together, like brothers and sisters, they go on a trip every year to somewhere that their mom loved, stuff like that. That's kind of a little bit bigger, takes more planning, but you get what I'm saying. Make a playlist of their favorite music so that you can listen to it. Sponsor an event in your loved one's name. I know people who have sponsored like 5Ks that raise money for, cancer research or for whatever is special to their heart. And they, sponsor that event and raise money for a cause. Create a memory book. This is something that, like, I feel like I need to do this because I have pictures all put away, but I would like to make a little album that, we can look at anytime we want to. And whenever her friends or, little cousins come over, they can look through it too, right? Because, we have all our pictures on our phones. We don't have them really usually printed out. Donating or volunteering for a special cause in their name, which that's pretty much the same thing I just said. And like I said, service for others is the greatest source of joy that we can create for ourselves. Knowing that, so whenever you're looking at celebrating their birthday, instead of thinking, I can't celebrate because they're not here with me to celebrate, I can't, it's not the same. Correct, it's not the same. So celebrate as you can. Instead of focusing on what you can't do, instead of focusing on the fact that they aren't physically here to eat the cake that you baked. Ew, that's a bee. Sorry. I thought it was a love bug. It is not a love bug. It's a bee. Woo! Y'all. Oh, my word. No. I'm going to get stung. Ugh. This is just my lot in life. Okay. But celebrating as you can, not as you can't. Focusing on what you can do instead of dwelling on what you can't do. So here's what I want to say. If you find that these dates are extra hard, like just, completely paralyzing, it could be because, you've been stuffing down your feelings for so long, right? And not dealing with them. And so I talk about this a lot, about working through your painful beliefs, working with your feelings so that you can get to the root of it and so that you can heal and you can shift from pain to peace. This is something that I was taught by my mentor, Tom Zuba, and it was the catalyst. It was the absolute beginning of my ability to have some clarity and to see the potential for a fulfilling life rather than a life just of misery of how am I supposed to live the rest of these years without my daughter physically here. Does that make sense? So if you are experiencing some of these things, I just want to dig into this just a tiny bit, because we think about things like these anniversaries and things causing us to start back at square one. Does that make sense? So, these things happen and you think you're getting better, and then something causes you to feel like you've lost all the ground that you thought you had gained. You thought you were fine, and then all of a sudden, the date slips up on you and you're just completely crushed. There are things called grief bursts or aftershocks. These are like where something triggers you and it feels like you're starting all over again, right? It's normal. It's disturbing. It's not fun by any stretch, but it's expected, I should say. It's expected. Whenever we feel like we should be further along, and then, something triggers us to just be a complete basket case and we can't, get out of bed or stop crying. So the thing is knowing that this is normal, knowing that this is expected, you're not losing ground. The progress that you've made is real. And these steps, these dates and things like that, these are steps, big steps in finding your way forward and continuing to move through grief. It is absolutely natural to look back, to reflect on what used to be sad for, what isn't, moving through your grief and learning to embrace your life as it is now and moving forward into the future. It's not easy. It takes work. It takes tons of work. But knowing it, like understanding that concept from the beginning, like that's the first really huge step. And sometimes you have to tell yourself 100 times, like, you have to remind yourself over and over again. It's not like you say this once and you've got it, okay? So often we measure the depth of our love by the depth of our pain. Does that make sense? Is anybody picking up what I'm putting down? Letting go of the pain is not being disloyal. It does not mean that you're going to forget your loved one. It's impossible to forget your loved one. I mean, obviously, you're not going to forget your mom. You're not going to forget your sister. I'm not going to forget my daughter. Like, that's just... But I had that struggle where I felt like if I smiled or laughed or found joy in anything, it was being disloyal to her, right? And it was moving away from her, and it was acting like I didn't love her or miss her. Well, that's not true. There are so many ways that we can remember our loved ones and we can stay connected to our loved ones and we can continue our relationship with them. The only thing that we are letting go of is pain and guilt, right? And misery. Those are the things that we're letting go of. We're not letting go of the memories. We're not letting go of our connection to them. We are trying to build a healthy, loving relationship with them, albeit different, right? But it's still a choice that we have to make if we want to work on our healing and expand our ability to find happiness now. So, if these are, like, if you're struggling, like, with this, like, the dates and the anniversaries and the holidays and the whatever pops up and you're like, ugh, and it's just worse. Like, this is, like, the first step. Hi, Tanya. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Accepting that setbacks are a reality of life. You have no control over something coming up out of nowhere and knocking you down, right? But we choose how we respond. And so that takes practice, that takes preparation to, and anticipation that when things come that we've, kind of planned. Oh, thank you, Tanya. I appreciate you telling me that you needed to hear that. I definitely needed to hear it today myself too. So I felt like it was something that somebody would relate to today. So when these circumstances come up, we can choose to give up, we can choose to just give in, or we can choose to take charge of our life and keep moving forward. Does that mean that we don't ever have a day that we just stay in bed all day and cry? No. Because there's days that we need that, and that's okay, right? That does not mean we are a failure. That does not mean we are not moving forward. That does not mean we are selfish. It means that we are grieving our loved one, and we always will be right? And it is not a straight line. It is not a 5 steps and you're done. It is a journey, and it's got hills and valleys, right? So I'm not saying, when I say like you see these setbacks and you're prepared for them, I'm not saying that you'll never get knocked down. That's not what I'm saying at all. Knowing that these aftershocks, they're normal and they're going to come, and as we get more practice with them and get more experience with them, it'll be shorter lived and easier to deal with. They can be controlled a little bit if we control the reminders, the things that what the triggers bring up in us. So we can, that's where I'm talking about moving from painful beliefs to peaceful ones. It's practicing that so that whenever we're sideswiped by a thought or somebody says something to us, it doesn't send us spiraling down into these guilt and misery and pain, but instead we are able to see it for what it is and work through it a little bit more in a little bit more healthy way. And of course, there goes the truck. Bye guys. Y'all, I can't make this up. I can't get a moment's peace. I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. Between the bugs and the chickens and the horses and the kids and the husband, I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't want a moment's peace. So I say. Okay. So, handling your memories with care. So that means whenever we have painful memories can be very destructive to us. I have had and still struggle with very, very painful guilt beliefs, guilt and memories that make me feel guilty and bad. Those aren't helpful to me. That doesn't help me heal. Now, I'm not saying pretend that it didn't happen or, you know what I mean, like just brush it under the rug. Most people deal with grief in that way, by just brushing it under the rug, pretending it didn't happen. Just I'll think about that another day, as Scarlett O'Hara would say. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about choosing which memories we want to hold on to and choosing which memories we want to let go of. And that even when those painful memories pop up, that we're able to recognize it for what it is, and we've worked through it to say, I don't believe that anymore. I choose not to dwell on that anymore. But there is a love bug crawling up my leg. Like inside my pants. So, here, look, can you see? Oh, he's gone. I don't know. Any of y'all know what a love bug is? If you do, you get a gold star. Okay, let's see what else we got here. I have just a few more points, and then I promise I'll let y'all go. I feel like I've been talking forever. So, whenever we are having a day where, it's an anniversary or a specific date, if we are building memory time into that day, actually any day, you can pick an entire day or picking a time of day every day. Does that make sense? That you choose some memories that you want to focus on, and then you immerse yourself in them. You immerse yourself in that time that you think about your loved one. You look at pictures, you listen to music, you watch a video of them. Times where you sit and you sort of fill up on the good stuff, if that makes sense, so that you have memories that you're choosing rather than being sideswiped by memories that you don't want to choose. I hope that makes sense. I think that makes sense. We'll see. Okay, and making time for it. Making time is really important to not feel like we can feel like we've forgotten them. We can feel like that if we're not making time to think about them, because we can't let go, like we can't untangle the painful memories with the good memories. So if we're not doing that work, then we just won't think of, we'll try not to think of them at all. So making the time to do the work to pull out those good memories, right, and to think about them and to talk to them, to journal, write a letter to them in your journal, things like that. Recognizing oftentimes the anticipation of the date is worse than the actual day. The day itself, you're just like, well, here it is. you know, and it doesn't usually come crashing down on you the way that you were anticipating it. It was just the anticipation of the day that was worse. Identify those days and events and seasons that are likely to cause you pain, knowing it's coming, right? Building in for the day, planning ahead for the day. Like I said, even if you're planning on doing nothing specific, like you're planning on just staying in bed all day, not talking to anybody all day, if you're planning for that, plan it as a day for comfort. Build comfort into that. Plan ahead of time what you're going to do. Set yourself up for at least a peaceful day. It may not have to be a pleasant day. It may not be a happy or great day, but at least that it will be a peaceful day. Plan it, and let your friends and relatives know, whoever, only your supportive people. Like I said, only the people that you know are there for you 100%, will drop anything for you. And I mean, I've got like 2 people. Neither one of them's related to me. Okay? That'll do this for me. That you can say, listen, this is the date that's coming up. This is what I think I want to do. Can you hold me accountable? If not, can you help me, you know, orchestrate an event, but can you at least just hold me accountable that day? Or just, you know, come sit with me that day. It's as simple as that. So, knowing that we're never done. We are never... I don't understand how people feel like you're supposed to move on and just like, I don't even know, put it in a box and move on. I don't get it. I don't understand this idea. I don't understand. Obviously, people that either these are people who have not actually buried someone very close to them, or they are in complete denial of reality and they are not dealing with their feelings and their emotions. So the reality is, healing is a continual journey. We're never done. We're only done when we die, right? Every day is more and more healing. We'll never be fully healed until we take our last breath. And so knowing that there is no time limit on grief, right? So anniversaries and dates can come up and they can leave you, you know, like exhausted and reeling and just like feeling like you're starting at square one again. But over time, the intensity of grief changes, and as you learn to lean into your feelings, as you learn to work through them and work with them and learn from them, you, instead of against them, you can slowly or quickly, it's up to you, shift, right? Shift your focus. So for me, yeah, Friday's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, but it's also going to be beautiful, because I'm working towards that and I'm reminding myself. I basically took all the expectations off of myself. Like whoever comes, comes. Whoever doesn't come, doesn't come. I'm not going to worry about trying to entertain people. I'm not worried about if people are there that don't like each other. I'm not worried about if there's confusion about, you know, anything. I'm not worried about it, because I have released the things that don't matter. What I am looking for is paying attention to my husband and my boys and myself and what we're there for, and making it a day that we're honoring, that we are honoring my daughter, and that we are gonna, at the very least, I hope I remember to at least take a picture of the bench. I'm so terrible about remembering to take pictures. So being able to just, you know, have that moment, have that time, and enjoy the people that are coming to show their love for her, right? And enjoying the animals, because she loves them so much and I love them so much as well. But just, you know, enjoying them and looking for signs from her. I'm really like, I'm looking for it to be a day that she's going to show us a lot of signs and love, that she's enjoying it too, that she's there with us, right? So that is what I wanted to share with you. If you're watching this on the replay, definitely give me some comments. Let me know what you've done in your, you know, on your birthdays and anniversaries and things like that, whenever you wanted to celebrate your loved one in the past, what you're planning coming up in the future, if you do the same thing every year. You know, if you're looking for some suggestions, or if you have more suggestions to add beyond the list that I gave, because I feel like my list was actually way too long. But there's a million more things I could add. So I was going to flip the camera around so you guys could see the hummingbirds, but they have left. We are about to have a tropical storm. Whoa, there was one. We're about to have a tropical storm, and so the birds are going crazy. The love bugs are going crazy. It's very windy, and Tropical Storm Gordon is coming to visit in Florida at some time today. He'll be here. So I'm really excited that my internet didn't give out already. So that's my bonus for today, is that I actually had internet service so I could chat with you guys. I hope that things are going as well as possible for y'all. I realize, especially with kids starting back to school, I know that is something that gets on my nerves. I stay off of social media as much as possible so that I don't see everybody's, happy back to school pictures, or their woe is me, my child's going off to college, I'm so sad pictures. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't need to see it. There's nothing valuable, there's nothing healing or helpful that I'm going to get out of seeing those things, so I just stay off of there, right? I just stay off of there as much as possible, and I just kind of stick with my own very small circle, and that's what works for me. And then coming on here and talking to you ladies, and hopefully bringing you some super helpful information. That's it. That's all I got. Like, that's what I live for right now. So, let's see. Danny says, I know exactly what you mean. Yes, ma'am. It's crazy right now. Look, okay, so I'm going to try and flip the camera and see. Oh, he left. All right, let's see here if he comes back. At the very least, I can show you one of the chickens and the rooster. But see, the hummingbirds left. Yesterday, there were a bunch of them. There's one. There they are. So that's what I'm going to leave y'all with today, ladies. I'm going to just hang out here with the hummingbirds and watch this storm roll in. And that's it. Like, that's all I got left to do today. So I hope that y'all are having a decent day wherever you are. And I love y'all so much. Y'all are absolutely 100% what I live for. Look, the rooster wants to say hello. Don't you do it, buddy. I'm going to turn this off before he crows, because he'll do it. All right, ladies. Yep, hummingbird's gone. So I'm going to let you go. Bye.